Monday night under the lights here at St James's Park. Feels like it's been a long time, a long wait since Newcastle beat Nottingham Forest before the international break, and obviously the extended break as well with Newcastle playing tonight. But here we are, it feels like it's been worth the wait. A really mild night in my opinion here at St James's Park. Let's hope that Newcastle can turn the heat up though on West Ham tonight. Newcastle have got a good record here against the Hammers. We've already spoke this week a lot about some of the famous wins, particularly the Kevin Keegan 3-0 win where we had 40 plus goal attempts, and tonight Newcastle will probably be happy with 1-0 or 2-0. I'm certainly backing Newcastle for the win tonight. Hopefully that doesn't put any jinx on them, but I think ultimately for Newcastle they need those 3 points tonight if they are to be taken seriously in that sort of top four race. I think you look at the goals scored tally, not as good as last season. Newcastle obviously I think hit 83 goals last season, and this year they haven't taken all their chances. But look, this offers a real opportunity for Newcastle, particularly Alexander Isak, to get a few more as well. He's going to get that great reception with the war flags display behind me, and yeah, it promises to be a decent night for Newcastle. So it's going to be interesting to see the team news when that drops. Looks like Kieran Trippier and Callum Wilson are there or thereabouts, so we'll wait and see exactly where we are with team news. But ultimately, as I say, Newcastle tonight got a real opportunity to climb back into that top six. Can they take it here against a West Ham side who've had mixed form, it has to be said, but as I say, this represents a real opportunity tonight for a big win. Well, where did that come from? I was confident before the game, and there was a lot of fans really thought Newcastle were going to turn up today, put on a performance, but it just wasn't there. It was lacking. The Magpies struggled from the offset. I thought defensively they were sloppy from the standards we've seen, and the opening goal to give Souček that free header was almost criminal really, given the way Newcastle United have defended in the past. But unfortunately, despite that setback, they normally get a real good talking to from Eddie Howe at half time. It didn't seem to have the same impact today, it has to be said, but I think ultimately Newcastle needed that equaliser. They needed the first goal of the second half, needed to go to Newcastle United. It sounds obvious, but instead it went to West Ham, and it handed them a mountain to climb. Newcastle United, Van Bissaka slamming home off the post, bit of ball watching in midfield, and at 2-0 you were just looking around going, well, where are 3 goals going to come from, never mind 1. And really Newcastle sadly tonight were second best in most departments, and I think ultimately they'll look back on this with major disappointment. It's a bit of a wake-up call, yes, but I just don't think the tone was right. There was a lot of momentum lost in that international break. I think had they had another game in midweek after Nottingham Forest, it would have done them wonders. Instead, the pause just seemed to make Newcastle lose something, and that was evident tonight. So Newcastle United lose 2-0 here tonight to West Ham. West Ham fans still singing in this stadium, and Newcastle have to go back to the drawing board. So a little bit more further reflection on what we just witnessed tonight at St James's Park. I'm looking at it and thinking potentially, one of those nights in some ways. The Isak goal getting chalked off for offside, a couple of other chances going wide. Newcastle go in front in that game, then it's a different environment altogether. But West Ham getting that first goal, goals change games, and that one certainly did. I mean, poor goal to concede. You know, you can't really change your mind on that. It was pretty shoddy defending, but you know, after that, Newcastle really were the team that they needed to, you know, react, produce something. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't find anything. And once he went 2-0 down, you know, that was a real mountain to climb, and we were seeing all types of different substitutions. But sadly, none of them, you know, made any difference. And Eddie Howe pretty much admitted that in his press conference. He didn't like us in the last half an hour. I didn't feel that the players who did come on have given any, you know, real decision to make against Crystal Palace, and that, you know, ultimately is going to be Newcastle's, you know, big acid test now. Can they react from this? In the past, they have. You know, I'm still confident in that myself. I think that there will be a reaction. I don't think Eddie Howe accepts anything, you know, below par. He makes changes, and you know, he brought off some big names tonight, and I think that game now becomes very big in Newcastle's season. Before the game, I was very confident. I tipped Newcastle to win. Maybe I fell into that trap, what we all do with Newcastle United, when we think everything's going well, and then, you know, you get hit by that. Potentially, you know, we always knew West Ham was going to be a tough game, but I just think the game changed from that opening goal, and I don't think we can really escape from that. So, tough night, learning curve again for Eddie Howe. I asked him after the game about Dan Burns' suspension. You know, was he as big a miss? He said yes, he was. He pointed to the first goal. Said that, you know, had Dan Burn been on the pitch, then that might have been different, but we'll never know. And I would expect Dan Burn to walk straight back in the team at Crystal Palace now, and it'd be interesting to see what the team sheet is on Saturday. But yeah, and you know, it's an opportunity, as I say, to hit back. And Newcastle have been so good at that in the past. Eddie Howe has been very good at that. So that is going to be a real interesting one at the weekend. But you know, a few days to digest what we watched last night. I mean, personally, I will be watching the game back again to see if my first impression on it was right. Were there any positives? I'm gonna have to look hard for them, I suppose, but that's where we are at the minute. So Newcastle beaten 2-0 by West Ham at St James's Park. Opportunity missed to climb into the European spots, but I think ultimately Eddie Howe is renowned for going away and finding solutions, and he's got his work cut out to do that this week. So a big wake-up call in many ways, as I said after the game. But I think really now Newcastle fans, you know, pretty much could see that, you know, the standards had dropped there tonight. And it was quite subdued at the end of the game when the players went round, as was always going to be the case after, you know, Monday night game. Been waiting a long time for this, and then, you know, we get the disappointing display. But ultimately, I think Eddie Howe will know that, and he will want to repay the fans, and I think that's exactly what he'll do at the weekend. So that's pretty much it for now. Thanks for watching. If you want to leave your comments beneath, I will take a look at them and probably reply back to you.